Um, Usually when we talk about artificial intelligence, there is this expectation of just limitless potential. Like it feels almost like magic, right?
Right. Yeah, it feels completely infinite.
Exactly. You feed the algorithm endless streams of data, it learns, it thinks, and, it just keeps getting faster and smarter.
Boundless. I mean, it feels like the
Like,
software just lives up in the clouds somewhere and has absolutely zero physical constraints holding it back.
But then you step out of the theoretical and into the actual server rooms. You walk through the hardware foundries and the sprawling data centers, and suddenly that illusion of infinity just it shatters.
It really does,
Mhm.
because we are looking at an AI ecosystem that is hitting a massive physical brick wall.
It is the absolute definition of a hardware bottleneck. So, welcome to the deep dive. AI feels like magic until you realize the sheer physics of computing are failing to keep up.
Yeah, failing hard.
You and I have been poring over this incredible 10-year forecast from the Imogen to 2.0 report, looking out from 2026 to 2036. And our mission today is to figure out exactly how we build a door through that wall.
Exactly, you have to build a way out.
We are going to explore how synthesizing nanophotonics, quantum mechanics, and AI is unlocking the next decade of technology. I'll be sitting in the technology analyst chair, basically breaking down the brilliant physics, how these wild concepts actually work in the real world.
And I'll be putting on the venture capital hat to explain the why it matters. Because look, solving this bottleneck isn't just some cool engineering trick.
Nope.
It is unlocking market opportunities in the multi-trillions of British pounds. The AI software out there right now is generating zettabytes of spatial data. It demands extreme calculation speeds, and traditional silicon chips and spinning hard drives simply cannot physically keep up anymore.
So we want to invite you to pull up a chair in this high-level strategy room with us. Let's start right in the engine room of the digital economy, because you cannot have a high-functioning AI ecosystem without a foundation of massive data storage.
No, you can't.
And we are running out of room.
We absolutely are running out of room. I mean, we are staring down a global unstructured data footprint that is projected to exceed 170 zettabytes.
Which is just a mind-boggling number.
It's massive. Just picture the real estate required for that. Traditional data centers take up huge amounts of land, and the power required to just cool those flat server racks is astronomical.
Okay, let's unpack this. Think of a traditional data center as a massive flat parking lot. You can only fit so many cars or bytes of data before you just have to go out and buy more land.
Right, which gets very expensive.
Very. But the Imagenta report highlights something called lanthanide-doped 3D optical data storage. So instead of a flat parking lot, imagine a 100-story transparent parking garage made of a solid block of tungsten phosphate glass.
Wait, okay, so how do you actually park a car in a solid block of glass?
That is where it gets brilliant. So a femtosecond laser shoots into the glass through a process called two-photon absorption, or TPA. It writes data by creating these submicroscopic glowing voids called voxels.
Okay.
And these are suspended at various depths inside the solid glass. But if you just blast a laser into glass, the light scatters.
The cars would blur together.
Exactly. The cars blur together. So they use a second technique called STED-stimulated emission depletion. Basically, a second donut-shaped laser fires at the exact same time and instantly suppresses the glow everywhere except the absolute microscopic center.
Wow.
Yeah, so you can access any car in this 100-story garage instantly, perfectly, with just a beam of light.
The commercial implications here are staggering. I mean, the global cloud storage sector is forecasted to approach 875.4 billion pounds by 2035.
That's huge.
It is. And what this glass storage does is drastically reduce the physical real estate footprint.
Yeah.
But the real game changer is the energy cost.
Right, because of the cooling.
Yes, and because it requires absolutely zero energy for cold storage. You don't need continuous power to maintain magnetic states like you do with legacy hard drives. It solves the 170 zettabyte storage bottleneck while cutting operational expenditure to just a fraction.
But, storing the data is only half the battle, right? Like, what good is a 100-story parking garage if the roads leading out of it are just dirt paths?
You have to be able to move the data.
We have to move it. Which brings us to networking, specifically quantum networking. Now, I have to push back here for a second. We have fiber optic cables wrapping the entire globe right now. If quantum computers are so incredibly powerful, why is networking them together so insanely difficult?
Well, it's because of a fundamental energy gap.
Hmm.
You are dealing with two completely different physical languages.
Right, okay. Superconducting quantum computers process information using microwave qubits, right? And those operate at really low frequencies, roughly 1 to 10 gigahertz.
That's exciting.
But to send data across long distances, our optical telecom fibers use light, which operates at hundreds of terahertz.
And you can't just run that microwave signal through a traditional amplifier to boost it, because doing that destroys the fragile quantum entanglement.
The data literally just falls apart.
Falls apart entirely.
Precisely. So to bridge this, the report details silicon-on-sapphire microwave-to-optical transducers, or SOS chips.
Yeah.
It's basically turning a radio wave into a physical earthquake on a microchip and then using a laser to read the seismic waves.
That is a wild analogy.
It's exactly what it is. The chip catches the microwave photon and turns it into a physical microscopic vibration on a tiny silicon beam. Then a laser bounces off that vibrating beam and turns the physical vibration into an optical photon that can travel down a fiber optic cable.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you are looking at the absolute foundational infrastructure for the quantum internet. I mean, we are tracking a quantum networking sector scaling to roughly 32 billion pounds. And the beauty of these SOS chips is the sapphire base. Sapphire dissipates heat perfectly at cryogenic temperatures, which prevents thermal noise from ruining that quantum signal. And crucially, these are VLSI CMOS compatible chips.
Meaning we don't need to invent entirely new factories just to build them.
Exactly. We can print them in the exact same foundries making standard silicon chips today. So they're commercially scalable right now, enabling perfectly secure quantum communication and distributed quantum computing clusters.
Okay, so we've solved the static server room. The AI has the infrastructure to think, remember, and securely talk to other quantum computers. But what happens when that AI has to step out into the chaotic physical world? Like, how does it navigate?
This is where the software physically interacts with human environments.
Yeah.
And the most immediate application is autonomous mobility, giving AI its eyes, basically.
Right. Right now, traditional LiDAR on self-driving cars uses spinning mirrors on the roof. Wait, so if I'm picturing this right, traditional LiDAR is basically like me physically spinning my whole body to look behind me over and over again, right?
It is, yeah. It's mechanical, it's slow, and because it has moving parts, it naturally breaks down.
But the Imagenta report outlines potassium tantalate niobate, or KTN electro-optic LiDAR scanners.
KTN, right?
Yeah, these use KTN crystals that leverage something called the Kerr electro-optic effect. By just applying a dynamic electrical voltage to this crystal, it instantaneously changes its internal refractive index.
Oh, no moving parts at all.
None. It bends the laser beam without the crystal moving a single millimeter. It's like instantly darting your eyes in any direction without moving a single muscle in your body.
And eliminating that mechanical movement is the absolute holy grail for the autonomous vehicle space, which is an opportunity hovering around 6.46 trillion pounds.
Trillion with a T.
Trillion, yes. Because traditional spinning rigs suffer from vibrational disruption from potholes and thermal warping from the sun. Those are fatal flaws when you're trying to scale a commercial robotaxi fleet.
Right, you can't have cars constantly in the shop.
Exactly. If the hardware constantly needs recalibration or replacement, the business model just fails. Solid-state KTN crystals eliminate that mechanical failure, finally making autonomous fleets financially viable at scale.
But it's not just the roads. The sky is getting just as crowded, you know? We are seeing a massive influx of urban air taxis and delivery drones.
Which creates a severe cognitive bottleneck for humans. The air traffic management market is worth roughly 28.56 billion pounds. But right now, human air traffic control officers are staring at flat 2D screens.
Trying to visualize it all.
Right. Trying to mentally convert those flat radar blips into a 3D map of the airspace in their heads. They simply cannot process that translation fast enough anymore with all these new drones.
So we give them holographic 3D air traffic control stations. These use something called swept volume technology.
How does that work?
So picture a transparent cylinder sitting right in the center of a control room. Inside, an omnidirectional diffuser screen is physically spinning at hundreds of revolutions per minute.
Okay, spinning very fast.
Extremely fast. And an ultra-high frame rate projector beams 2D cross-sections of the radar data onto it so fast that human persistence of vision basically fuses it into a solid, floating 3D hologram.
Oh, wow. It creates a true spatial interface between the human and the AI.
Yes. It uses WebGL Cartesian voxels.
Right, WebGL.
Yeah, WebGL is the standard for rendering graphics, and Cartesian voxels just mean plotting data points in true XYZ space. So the AI translates the complex radar data, and this hardware instantly renders aircraft, drones, and even storm cells as physically glowing, floating 3D models right in the room with zero latency.
That's incredible. The human operator no longer has to do the mental math. They can intuitively interface with the AI's spatial awareness.
Exactly. And we can take that same spatial awareness down from the sky to the dirt, tactical ground environments, wearable 3D battlefield AR visors.
The defense sector is undergoing a massive shift right now. Ministries are directing huge budgets toward network-centric warfare, building out a digital battlefield market that's estimated at over £262.64 billion.
So how do you give a soldier that network data without completely distracting them? These visors use holographic optical waveguides. A tiny microdisplay shoots light into a thin glass visor. The light bounces around inside the glass until nanoscopic gratings push it out directly into the user's eye.
Okay, so it overlays onto reality.
Right. Using SLAM algorithms, simultaneous localization, and mapping, the visor looks at the physical dirt and trees in front of the soldier and perfectly overlays the battlefield data. Friendly units glow green, hostiles glow red, locked perfectly onto the real world.
The goal here is compressing what the military calls the ODI Loop Observe Orient Decide Act.
Right.
By utilizing edge computing AI to process drone and radar feeds and projecting it instantly into the warfighter's field of view, you drastically reduce their cognitive load and establish absolute information dominance.
It's like a video game HUD, but in real life. So we've zoomed out to macro navigation in the sky and on the battlefield. Now let's zoom way, way in. Micro navigation inside the human body. Because the synergy of photonics and AI is literally slicing, synthesizing, and saving lives in precision healthcare.
This is where the sheer computational force of AI meets biological complexity.
Let's talk about in silico modeling. Deep learning-driven 3D molecular docking simulators. Historically, drug discovery meant blindly mixing chemicals in a lab for years.
Trial and error, essentially.
Well, a lot of error. Now, researchers use AI to predict exactly how a new drug molecule will physically bind to a disease-causing protein.
And the AI does this by calculating the Gibbs free energy, correct?
Exactly. In thermodynamics, every system wants to be lazy. It wants to reach its lowest possible energy state. That's the Gibbs free energy.
Oh, I see.
The AI calculates exactly how a drug molecule needs to bend, twist, and fold to lock into a disease protein at that lowest energy state perfectly without the physical atoms clashing into each other. It simulates the physical thermodynamics before a single chemical is ever manufactured.
What's fascinating here is that this is a software-as-a-service platform. It relies entirely on cloud compute, meaning practically zero manufacturing overhead.
Which is wild for healthcare.
It is. The drug discovery market is a £137.1 billion arena, and it is crippled by one major bottleneck, which is late-stage clinical attrition.
Right. Failing in the final stretch.
Exactly. You spend billions developing a drug, only for it to fail in phase 3 trials because it binds to the wrong thing in the body. By predicting polypharmacology and binding affinity virtually, this tech is cutting early R&D timelines by up to 40%.
But eventually, we do have to look at actual living tissue. Which brings us to acousto-optic deflector, or AOD, 3D medical scanners.
How do these differ from standard scanners?
Well, these devices use tellurium dioxide crystals. You blast radiofrequency acoustic waves, literal sound waves, straight through this crystal. Those sound waves create a temporary invisible grating inside the crystal that literally snaps a laser's focal point around inside living tissue in microseconds using Bragg diffraction.
Okay, wait, I can hear you asking, why go through all this trouble? Why not just use a motorized lens to focus the laser?
That's the pushback, right? But the answer is that motorized lenses have physical inertia.
They're fundamentally too slow.
Exactly. They have mass, they take time to move. If you want to capture highly dynamic biological processes, like individual neurons firing in the brain, or blood flowing through a tumor in real time during robotic surgery, you cannot wait for a physical piece of glass to move.
That makes total sense.
The AOD scanner has zero moving parts, letting it track tissue deformation instantly.
And hospitals are aggressively transitioning to value-based care models right now. The 3D medical imaging sector is projected to be an £89.3 billion market.
It's massive.
When you integrate these lightning-fast AOD scanners into surgical navigation, you reduce surgical trauma, improve patient outcomes, and drastically cut down expensive operating room time.
Which perfectly sets up perhaps the most visually stunning medical application in the whole report: 2 photon absorption holographic radiotherapy simulators.
This one is incredible.
It really is. When treating cancer, the goal is to hit the tumor with maximum radiation, but perfectly spare the healthy organs right next to it, right? To plan this, doctors use a physical, transparent cube sitting on a desk. It is filled with highly luminescent quantum dots.
Okay.
Two infrared lasers sweep through the cube. Where they cross, the quantum dots absorb 2 photons at once and emit a bright, visible glow. It literally draws a glowing 3D heat map of the radiation dose right inside the glass cube.
And this ties perfectly back to the AI software. Generative AI models, specifically 3D UNets, analyze thousands of historical CT scans to predict the absolute optimal radiation dose distributions for a specific patient.
Right.
The physical cube visualizes exactly what the AI is thinking in real 3D space.
But why is that physical visualization so crucial? Like, why not just look at a monitor?
Because the radiation oncology market, worth over £28.32 billion, is facing a critical global shortage of trained medical physicists.
Human capital bottleneck. Exactly. Designing these treatments takes hours of meticulous planning. This hardware-software synergy automates complex workflows, allows doctors to verify the AI's plan instantly, and mitigates human error.
Incredible. So we've covered the infrastructure, mobility, and the biology. Let's conclude our analysis with the physical-digital interface.
Sounds good.
How do we actually build these futuristic components, and how do humans intuitively collaborate around them? This brings us to triplet fusion upconversion industrial 3D printers. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Because traditional 3D printing is fundamentally flawed for mass production.
Right. Traditional 3D printing is like building a house brick by brick. It's a point-by-point, layer-by-layer tracing process. Wait, hold on. You're telling me we aren't building layer by layer anymore? How does the liquid resin not just turn into a solid block of plastic?
It comes down to crossing lasers.
Exactly. Triplet annihilation. You have these organic molecules floating in a vat of liquid resin protected by tiny silica capsules.
When you cross 2 low-power lasers right at a specific coordinate in that vat, the molecules at that exact intersection collide. They fuse their energy together, and they release a sudden, intense flash of ultraviolet light.
And that cures the resin.
Yes, that UV flash instantly cures the resin right there, and only there. It's not building brick by brick. It's materializing the entire house instantly, all at once within the liquid. They are hitting printing rates of tens of millions of voxels per second.
That speed shatters the definitive bottleneck of additive manufacturing. We're talking about a market opportunity exceeding £103.62 billion.
It's huge.
This technology delivers up to 70% production cost savings compared to traditional subtractive manufacturing. It enables the industry to finally pivot from slow, small-scale prototyping to true, high-speed serial industrial production.
And finally, we started with 3D storage. We end with 3D visualization. Upconversion, nanoparticle, volumetric 3D displays. True, glasses-free holograms.
No bulky VR headsets causing optical fatigue.
None at all. They use an incredible core shell architecture. Think of it like a microscopic atomic gobstopper.
I love that. An atomic gobstopper.
Right. These are lanthanide-doped nanoparticles suspended in a solid block of 3D-printed silica aerogel, which is basically glass that is as light as air.
Oh.
Invisible infrared lasers sweep through the transparent aerogel, and the nanoparticles emit brilliant visible colors. No spinning screens, no moving parts, just a solid-state block rendering high-definition spatial data.
I view this as the ultimate collaborative tool. The global extended reality, or XR, sector is projected to be a £3.03 trillion behemoth.
Another trillion.
Another trillion.
Yeah.
As AI designs increasingly complex quantum hardware, humans need a way to visually interface with those designs without staring at flat 2D monitors. This display technology solidifies how human engineers will intuitively interact with the algorithms of the future.
It's an incredible list of breakthroughs. I mean, from crystals that steer light with sound waves to vats of liquid that instantly materialize solid objects.
This raises an important question, though. Is this all just theoretical physics confined to a whiteboard?
People always ask that.
Always. But the strategic synthesis of the Imagenta 2.0 report proves the answer is no. This is not sci-fi. Every single product we discussed leverages existing manufacturing paradigms.
Right, like the VLSI, CMOS foundries, stereolithography, robocasting.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The ultimate takeaway for you, listening right now, is the absolute symbiotic dependency here. AI desperately needs this advanced nanophotonic and quantum hardware to physically execute its intelligence at scale.
Because it's hitting that physical wall.
Exactly. And simultaneously, this hardware requires AI to process the sheer zettabytes of spatial data it generates. They cannot exist without each other.
So what does this all mean? It means you now possess a massive strategic advantage. When you look at the tech landscape today, you aren't just seeing the surface-level AI hype.
Right, the hype cycle.
You can see the multi-trillion-pound market forces, the physical bottlenecks, and the rigorous quantum physics solutions hiding right beneath the surface. You know exactly how the brick wall is going to be dismantled.
The wealth generation over the next decade will be heavily localized in these exact vectors.
Which leaves me with one final thought for you to chew on. We started by talking about AI hitting a physical wall and human engineers using advanced photonics to build a door through it. But if deep learning AI is currently using this exact hardware to map the world in 3D, simulate complex biological thermodynamics, and instantly 3D print physical matter, how long will it be until the AI itself starts inventing entirely new laws of quantum hardware that human physicists haven't even conceptualized yet?